نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So next hadith from Arbaeen-An-Nawawi, Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi's collection of 40 hadith, one of the masterpieces, and he's written a lot of words, especially in hadith. He was a Shafi jurist, a great Imam, mashallah. So this is hadith number 9, where he said, فعن أبي هريرة عبد الرحمن بن الصخر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ما نهيتكم عنه فاجتنبوه وما أمرتكم به فأتوا منه ما استطعتم فإنما أهلك الذين من قبلكم كثرة مسائلهم واختلافهم على أنبيائهم. رواه البخاري ومسلم. A hadith narrated by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. And such a hadith is known as Muttafaqun alayhi. Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah agreed on its authenticity. So Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala an, he said, I heard Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, what I've forbidden you, stay away from it. What I have ordered you, do as much of it as you can. Verily, the people before you were destroyed only because of their excessive questioning and their disagreeing with their prophets. A very important hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, today we will just be discussing about the companion, the narrator, as we normally do. So this is our amazing companion, Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhr ibn, well, Abdul Rahman, it shouldn't be Ibn Ad-Dawsi, also known as Abu Hurairah. Ad-Daws is the tribe. He was born about 18 years before Hijrah, before migration. And there's difference of opinion. What was his actual name? Many different ideas. But the most scholars would say his name was Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhr. He was from the tribe Ad-Daws, after the name of that great grandfather of some sort. He embraced Islam quite late, in 7 after Hijrah. And then he stayed in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for all 4 years that he was there. He did not move away from him. He lived in the masjid. And from the Sufa, from the group of Sufa, he was actually a leader of them. He dedicated himself. He became Muslim at the hand of the companion Tufail ibn Amr ad-Dawsi. He was from the same tribe. He was the chief of that tribe at that time. He came and he accepted Islam. And then he went back. He said, I would go and advise my people to come to Islam as well. They lived in the region of Tihama. And then when he invited people, Abu Huraira was the first person to accept Islam. He was the first person from his group. And then he came to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was his first meeting. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, what's your name? He said, Abdul Shams. His name was Abdul Shams, the slave of sun. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, rather Abdul Rahman, rather you're slave of Allah, servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, yes, be it, like I accept that. He accepted that straight away, without questioning. Why are you changing my name? You know, my father gave me this beautiful name. Why are you changing it? What's the problem? Is there any issue with that, Ya Rasulullah? Can I not keep this one, please? I would need to change my certificates, all of that thing that we do today. If you ask anything and people would have 20 questions around it, they need all the justification. And that is why they were Sahaba. They would just listen and they just obey. They would not question. But anyway, he was more popular with his kunya that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave. Abu Hurairah. He had a kitten. He lived in the masjid. He just migrated to Medina. He lived in the masjid. So he had this pet kitten who he would just go with everywhere. And he would just put sometime on the tree, just getting some food wherever, walking about and playing. And sometimes would keep it in his long sleeve. So once he was having that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called him, come on, Ya Abu Huraira. Come on, and neither he called him this Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira means, Huraira is kitten. Hirra, hir is masculine, hirra is female kitten, female cat, sorry. And then Huraira is the tasghir, the diminutive of that. So the baby cat. So the kitten man, the man with the kitten, Abu Huraira, does not mean father of kitten. Abu means the one, although, yeah, people literally, that's the literal meaning, but that's not what Arabs would normally mean when they say Abu so-and-so. Sometimes it is Abu so-and-so if it's the children's name or the future children's name, but most of the time it doesn't have to be. Like Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu's beautiful title was, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called him Abu Turab. What happens, he was lying in the on the ground and having some rest in the afternoon, so he had some dust on his face. Because when you lie on the ground, obviously there'll be some dust in the desert area. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam woke him up and he said, Ya Aba Turab, oh, the one with the dust. So, okay. So that's how it goes. Anyway, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu obviously was single without having any children at that point. His mother was with him. She was still a non-believer. And he was so keen to get her converted to Islam, obviously. So he invited. Mother was like, not at all. I'm not going to do that at all. And so he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she actually said certain words against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, I'm not going to follow him, like whatever. He was very upset by that. And to the point that he actually thought perhaps she's not going to accept because she's very, very stubborn about this. And he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for my mother. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised his blessed hand and started making dua. He went home and he knocked at the door. And then he said, I heard the splashing of water. When I tried to enter my mother, she said, stay there. And then after, some time, she put her clothes on and she was taking a shower. And I entered and said, as she saw me, she said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And he was like, out of joy, he started feeling overjoyed and cried. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have got, if he returned back, I have very good news, and my mother has accepted Islam, mashallah. He was amazing. He was amazing. He would be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the time. He would thank Allah for giving him the opportunity to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that, oh Allah, I praise you, alhamdulillah, who taught me Islam. Oh Allah, I praise you because you taught me Quran. Oh Allah, I praise you because you bestowed Abu Hurairah the companionship of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would thank Allah day in, day out like this, because he would realize how blessed he was. And he was so keen to say, Zayd ibn Thabit, radiallahu ta'ala, the famous companion who compiled the book, the Quran, in the book form as per the instruction of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq and Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. And subsequently, Sayyidina Uthman asked the same person, Zayd ibn Thabit, to get it written in the seven dialects of Quraysh, so that it becomes the standard writing rather than changing and being different style of writing. But anyway, so he said, while Abu Hurairah and I and another friend of mine were in the masjid praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and performing dhikr, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he appeared. He came towards us and sat down, and when we became silent, he said, carry on with what you were doing. So he joined our company. We were doing dhikr and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we started doing dhikr. So me, my friend, and Abu Hurairah, we started saying before Abu Hurairah did, and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ameen, Ameen. So we were saying this. Then Abu Hurairah made a dua. So we made dua and dhikr. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ameen. So they were all making the individual dua. So what is so you make dua. He made dua. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all other companions said, Ameen. Then Zayd ibn Thabit said, and then it was Abu Hurairah's turn. So he said, oh Lord, I ask you for what my two companions, means Zayd ibn Thabit and other friend, what they asked, I want the same as well from you. And I also ask you for knowledge which will not be forgotten. Give me a good memory so that I can get that knowledge. Give me great knowledge and let me just keep it to my heart. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ameen. And then the first two companions, Zayd and other, they realized and they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we want the same dua as well for us. That those. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he has done it. You've delayed. You're late for that. You should have done that earlier. So that is why Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and in another narration, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually made a special dua for him. So he narrated the most hadith, despite just being with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 4 years, about 4 years, 3.5 to 4 years, 5,374 narrations. He's from Muqsirin. Obviously, he's a top. Those who have done more than 1,000 hadiths, he's obviously among the top. His memory was fantastic. Initially, it was not that great. So as normal human being, he was having normal memory. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, I don't remember everything. So he said, okay, whoever will spread his upper garment until I finish my speech and then fold it and wrap it over his body, he will never forget anything he had heard from me. That was a golden opportunity to Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, who obviously was there all the time. He was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he managed to do that. He said, I spread the garment which I was wearing, and by him who sent Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the truth, ever since I have never forgotten whatever I heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadith in Sahih Muslim. So amazing way of getting this memory, and his memory became so sharp and so beautiful that when Marwan bin Al-Hakam, he was the Khalifa from Bani Umayyah, after Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala and others. So he wanted to test Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala's power of memory because he heard about it. So he sat with him in one room, and behind a curtain he plays a scribe. Abu Hurairah didn't know about this. That's been recorded. So he ordered him to write down whatever Abu Hurairah said, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. A year later, Marwan asked Abu Hurairah to come back again to the palace, and he asked to recall the same ahadith. And the same person was holding the book, and he could have a look at that. And Abu Hurairah narrated quite a few hundred hadiths in a row without changing even the order. His memory was so sharp that he could do exactly the same in the same way. Such was his beautiful memory, amazing memory, mashallah. And he was very pious, obviously. He would spend his day in the masjid, like as if he was there for 3.5 years worth of itikaf. He was in that madrasa, enrolled all the time. He was once passing by the market, and he saw many people, they're buying and selling. And so he said, how weak are you lot? What are you doing, people of Medina? What do you see that is feeble in us? The people said. He said, the inheritance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being distributed, and you remain here. Won't you go and take your portion? Where is this, O Abu Hurairah? They asked. In the masjid. So they all quickly left the market. Everyone rushed to the masjid to get some inheritance. And when they found Abu Hurairah is waiting in the suq on his own in the market, when they saw, they said, oh Abu Hurairah, we went to the masjid and entered, and we did not see anything being distributed. Abu Hurairah said, didn't you see anyone in the masjid? He said, yes, we saw some people doing salah, some doing some reading of Quran, some people were discussing about the matter of halal and haram. So Abu Hurairah said, woe be to you. That is the inheritance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That ilm and that dhikr, that action, this is what is the inheritance from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Go and take part of that. Don't get engrossed in this material world all the time. He had a lot of hardship. Obviously, he was from the people who would not work. So he was just sitting there hoping that someone would give him something. If he finds something from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wouldn't work. He would just be in company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He might need me anytime. And he would just take notes and learn. When I was afflicted with severe hunger, he wouldn't write, by the way, he would keep it to memory. He's got fantastic memory. When I was afflicted with severe hunger, I would go to a companion of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ask him about the ayah of Quran, to stay with him, thinking that he would think that I need to learn from this ayah, and then hopefully he may realize that I'm in need. So if I'm sitting with him, he may take me with him and give me food. So he said, one day, my hunger became so severe that I placed a stone on my stomach. I then sat down in the path of the companion. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu passed by. And I asked him about an ayah of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I only asked him so that he would invite me, but he didn't. He didn't realize. He just explained the ayah in the beautiful way. This is what it means. This is what it said. And all the ruling, they learned that. He said, okay, that wasn't the idea behind it. But anyway, then Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, he came. He passed by me and I asked him about the ayah, but he also did not invite me and he explained everything again to me. And that was the intention. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam walked past and he immediately realized what's the situation, that I was hungry. He said, Abu Huraira, at your command. I replied and followed him until he entered his house. We entered his house. He found a bowl of milk and asked his family, from where did you get this milk? They said, somebody sent it to you, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said, okay. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh Abu Huraira, go and invite all the people from Sufa, about 30-40 of them, get them all invited to the masjid. I'm coming to the masjid with this bowl of milk. And they were like, he actually said that I felt very sad and upset. I was hungry for a few days. I haven't got enough to eat and I'm really having a stone on my stomach. That bowl would not even suffice me, let alone all those my companion in Sufa. They had something to eat. Perhaps they're not as hungry as I am, maybe. So I went to the people and called them, and they came and they asked for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's permission to enter. They were admitted and took their seats in the house, obviously outside of the house, which is masjid, obviously. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Oh Abu Hir." So sometime out of love, you will just say Hir. Okay, Huraira is the diminutive. Hir is the cat. So he said, "Ya Rasulullah, here I am. So take it and give it to them. So let them all drink from this bowl." So I took the bowl of milk and started giving it to each man who drank his fill and returned it back to me until finally the whole group had drunk their fill. I then placed the bowl between the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was still milk remaining. So he raised his head, looked at me, smiled and said, "Oh Abu Hir." I replied, "Yes, O Messenger of Allah." He said, "Only you and I remain." I said, "You have said the truth, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Then he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Sit down and drink." I sat down and drank. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Drink," and I drank. He kept on telling me repeatedly to drink until I said, "No, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Allah who sent you with the truth, I have no space for it anymore. My stomach is full." He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Hand it over to me." When I gave it to him, he drank the remaining milk. Hadith in Imam Bukhari's Sahih. That was a miracle from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam realized the man is so hungry, and yet he wanted to train him, because this is how you achieve the highest level. Not that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam couldn't give him the first, he could have. But you do not get a spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless you sacrifice your hunger, your food, your drink, your comforts, everything that is connected to dunya needs to be sacrificed for the sake of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to nurture your and train your nafs. Otherwise, nafs would go out of the way and make it quite an issue for you. And that's a problem for Muslims today, that we're so much into affluence, we're so much into this, excessive food, drink, whatnot. And then we're not getting that spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be contained in a heart that is filled with the love of dunya. Those two love cannot be together, as the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the time came, of course, when the Muslims were so blessed with a lot of wealth. It happened when Muslims were conquering places. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu got a lot of wealth as well. So then he married, he had a child, and he became so rich, but it didn't change him. His demeanor remains the same. He remained as simple. I grew up as an orphan and I emigrated as a poor and indigent people. I used to take food for my stomach from Basra, bint Ghazwan, the lady. I served people when they returned from journeys and led their camels and tend their camels when they set out. Then God caused me to marry her, Basra. So praise be to Allah who has strengthened his religion and made Abu Hurairah an imam when he became the leader of Bahrain. So he would stay up in tahajjud, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was so much devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously staying in the masjid and being in the company. So what they have done, Qiyamul Layl, what they have done amazingly with the wife and the son. So together they said, okay, this was the practice, wife and the daughter, there was a practice this. How he would say that I would stay up the first third of the night, and the wife with the second third, and the daughter with the third of the night, last third of the night. And this is how the Quran would be recited throughout the night in the prayer. This is how the house was full of barakah, and there was no hour of the night left without someone doing some zikr, some tasbih, some prayer. And here we spend our night in bed, not even waking up for Fajr without much, stress. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu appointed him the governor of Bahrain. He was very scrupulous, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He would check everyone and what have you got. So Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, obviously a poor man, when he had some money then, when there was a lot of conquests and they get rich. Sayyidina Umar heard that Abu Hurairah has got more wealth now. He asked him, he said, this is from breeding horses and gifts which I received as Khalifa, as Imam, as governor, sorry. Said Umar wouldn't accept any of that. He said, no, hand all of that to treasury. They have not given to you, they have given to your status, which is the right of the people. So put it in the Baytul Mal. And he did it without questioning. And he said, oh Allah, forgive the Amir al-Mu'mineen, because my stuff is being taken as well. The gifts, okay, but the stuff that he said, because Sayyidina Umar was very, very strict about these things, thinking that if people do not keep a very high standard, it will be a problem. So this is how he would train people. Otherwise, many a time it will be like, if you were not the governor, would people give you that gift? If you were not governor, and even if you were governor, how could you have time to breed your horses and be rich with that? And your job was to look after people's affairs. So such was the stance of Sayyidina Umar. He was very strict on that. Anyway, he had not got any grudge or any suspicion for Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala. That is why he asked him subsequently, some years later, to become Amir again of some place. He said, no, actually, let it be, so that my owner would not be besmirched, my wealth taken and my back beaten, he said it, and I fear to judge without knowledge and speak without wisdom. So let me be safe and the way I am. He was so kind to his mother, and every time he would come home, he would say, Assalamu alaikum ya ummata wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be unto you, my mother, the mercy and blessing of Allah be upon you as well. And she would say the same thing, Wa alaikum assalam ya bunayya wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings and mercy of Allah be upon you, my son. And finally, he would say many a time about the mother, may God have mercy on you as you cared for me when I was small. And she would say, may God have mercy on you as you delivered me from error when I was old. You helped me come out of this kufr and made me come to Islam. And he would encourage people to be kind to parents. This is a message for us. He would make dua for his mother. One day he saw two men walking together, one older one than the other. He asked the younger one, who is this man to you? He said, my father. The person replied, don't call him. He replied by his name. He said, don't call him by name. And don't walk in front of him. And don't sit before him. Be nice and gentle to your parents. We actually talk back to our parents. We shout. We do not listen to them. And that's why we do not get the barakah and blessings. Muslims owe a debt to the gratitude of Abu Hurairah for helping to preserve and transmit the valuable legacy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He died in the year 59 after Hijrah, and he was about 78 years old. May Allah bless a lot of barakah and blessing on this blessed companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.